Hello everybody, if you recall, my name is AJ, and today we will be looking at 3 facts. What 3 facts, you may ask? Well, today we are going to be looking at 3 facts about the amazing digital circus, a YouTube animation which is found on the YouTube channel Glitch, and is quite popular, if I say so. How popular, you might ask, if you haven't been around the internet? Well, currently it sits at 236 million views after just 3 months. And for those of you who don't know, that is a lot in such short of a time. The show follows our main character Pomni along with a few other humans who have somehow been sucked into a digital world that is controlled by these two right here. Kane, the ringmaster, the guy with eyeballs and teeth, and his, let's say, assistant in the bubble with teeth that has some weird habits. We will get into the other characters a little later on in the video, but let me just give you a little summary of what happens. This is a pretty short thing and doesn't really spoil much until the ending when I say spoilers. Basically, once Pomni arrives, she's understandably freaked out and attempts to find a way out throughout the episode. And a bit of a spoiler here, the character we don't really get to see much of in normal form gets corrupted, basically going insane, and turns into a monster and attempts to kill or damage our main character and characters. However, Kane shows up last minute and shoves it into a void which seems to be filled with other corrupted characters, which we can assume that once anybody goes insane here, they get corrupted and thrown in here. And unfortunately, one last spoiler is that, well, Pomni eventually has to come to the conclusion that there is nowhere out, and that she is stuck there. And that's basically how the first episode ends. But as you can probably understand, this is just a short recap and doesn't really go into all the nuance of the show itself. So you can probably go check it out on YouTube if you wish. But seeing as how you're not here for the show or recap and you're here for facts about it, let's jump right into those, shall we? Now, what better way to start this off than by going through the characters and stating facts about each. Let's get started, shall we? And who better to start with than our main character Pomni, whose canon age is 25 and whose canon height is 160 centimeters or 5 foot and 3 inches if you're using American terms. Or into feet, no judgment if you are. Another interesting thing about Pomni is if you translate her name from Russian to English, it actually means remember. Pomni also originally was supposed to be a boy. And one last thing before we move on to our next character, Pomni is not actually a clown despite most people calling her that. She's actually a jester. There are actually a few differences between clowns and jesters. The most commonly known one is a clown makes a fool of himself or herself, while a jester makes a fool or makes fun of people in the audience. The next person we will be looking at is Jax, who most people would consider a likable, I don't know how to put it nicely, let's just call him likable jerk. Or chaotic good, let's go with that. His canon height is 6 foot 2 inches or 188 centimeters. His canon age is actually 22, which actually makes him the youngest character in the amazing digital circus. And just like how Pomni was originally supposed to be a boy, Jax was originally supposed to be a girl. Lastly, before we move on to our next character, the funniest thing is, although Jax is a jerk, his name actually translates to God has been gracious and has shown favor, which I'm not really sure where to go with his character, since he's basically a lovable jerk. Anywho, let's move on to our next character, Ragita, whose height is 5 foot 9 inches or 175 centimeters. She's also the most cheerful and kind of the group, and also, my favorite character. Don't worry, that doesn't really count as one of the facts. It's just something I like to say and I want to say. Her canon age is 30 years old, which actually makes her the second oldest character in the amazing digital circus. And as most of you can probably guess, her design is based off of Raggedy Ann. But to be more precise, the Raggedy Ann from Raggedy Ann and Andy's A Big Musical Adventure. And in the pilot episode, it was revealed that Ragita's biggest fear are centipedes. Frankly, I find it very amusing that this information was granted to us by Jax.
I hope he's alright.
Don't worry, Dollface. I've got a key to his room.
Wait, why? You shouldn't have keys to anyone's room.
Nah, I've got keys everywhere, and you've all been fine. By the way, I may have left something in your room today, so let me know if you find it. You're not afraid of centipedes, are you?
Jax! That's literally my only fear. Why would you do Yes!
What? It could be a completely unrelated question. You'll never know until it's too late.
Now, let us move on to our next character on the list, Gangle. 1 second, please. There we go. Gangle actually has two faces, one that's always smiling and usually breaks, and one that's always frowning and upset. To be more precise though, sad. Those of you who weren't sure what Gangle's gender were, or that watched the show, her gender is actually female. And her height is 5 foot 10 inches, or 177 centimeters. Her confirmed age is 26 years old, and has been confirmed by the creator is into anime. It has even been confirmed that her favorite anime is actually Azumanga Daioh. And might I say, she's got good taste. The creator even came forward and saying on Tumblr that Gangle has a body pill with an unspecified character on it. Now, let's move to the last fact before we move on to our next character. It had actually been confirmed by the creator that, Jax actually came up with Gangle's name. Since everybody that goes to the circus doesn't really remember who they are or what they were before they got there. All they remember is that they were human. Our next character is Zubul, whose height is 6 foot 1 inch or 185 centimeters. Their age is 22 years old, and unlike the other characters, she does not know her gender. And it is said by the creator that throughout the series, her body will change and add and take away different parts, with only her head staying the same. The parts that she is not using will be stored in a Zubul box, like the one shown here. Zubul was also the first character designed by the creator, and was designed after the 90s toy Zolo Egogo. Now, let's move on to our next character, Kinger. Kinger's height is 6 feet 9 inches or 205 centimeters, which makes him the tallest member of the crew. And his age is 48 years old, which actually makes him the oldest character as well. And in this scene where you see a crossed out figure that looks a lot like Kinger, it has been confirmed by the creator that her name used to be Queenie, and was most likely Kinger's wife or girlfriend before she, got abstracted and got thrown into the portal hole. Now, let's get to our second to last character before we move on to our next fact, shall we? Our next character is Kane, aka the ringmaster of the show. Kane's height is 3 feet 4.945 inches or 104 centimeters. His age, however, has not yet been disclosed, so we don't really know. Kane also has complete heterochromia, which means he has different colored eyes. The creator of the show has also said that Kane is based on the rogue AI from the 1968 short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, that AI being called AM. And since Kane's name is based off the biblical character Cain, who had a brother Abel, most people believe that the C, E, and A insignia that was seen when Pobney was exiting from, trying to exit, it is believed that Cain might actually have a brother named Abel somewhere in the digital circus, but this is just speculation. Now, let's move on to our last character before we move on to our next fact. Our last character is Bubble. Now, this one's going to be short since we don't really know much about Bubble and he doesn't really have much of a, character. Now, Bubble can apparently cook, which is strange since nobody really needs to eat in the Amazing Digital Circus since they're basically all digital. Bubble, when not around, seems to be housed in King's hat, and every now and then when Bubble gets on King's nerves, he pops him. Don't feel too bad for Bubble though, since he always comes back. Lastly, it would appear that even when Bubble closes his mouth, his teeth are still visible, which makes sense since he's basically see-through. Now that we've finished off those characters' introductions, let us move on to our second fact, which are facts about the digital circus itself. Don't worry, this video is not going to be too long. Now, let us get to those, shall we? Now, although the Amazing Digital Circus is produced by Glitch Productions, it was directed and created by Gooseworks, an American webcomic artist, animator, musician, YouTuber, and cartoonist. Goosework has also said that they plan for the Amazing Digital Circus to be one season with 8 episodes. So all those of you who are fans of the Amazing Digital Circus, look out because more episodes are coming. Lastly, before we move on to our last fact, let me just say that although you may be familiar with one version of the Amazing Digital Circus, there are actually 9 dubs of the Amazing Digital Circus, which goes to show how popular it actually is. Now, let's move on to our last set of facts, which are the voice actors of the characters. Now, Pomni is voiced by Lizzie Freeman, who has voice acted a multiple of characters, some of which you can see right now. Jack's voice actor is Michael Kobach, who has acted in both Murder Drones and Lackadaisy, among others. Rita's voice actor is Amanda Hubbard, who is a voice actor and a vocalist for many things, including these shown here. Voice actor for Gangle is Marisa Lintai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right though. And many of you anime fans may be very familiar with her works in the anime industry. The voice actor for Zubul is Ashley Nichols, who is also the creator of Far-Fetch. The voice actor for Kinger is currently Seam Chiplock, who has also been known to voice act in anime. The voice actor for Kane is Alex Russian, though I'm not 100% sure I'm pronouncing his last name correct, who is also an actor and has acted in the movie Wild Smoke. As for Bubble, it was actually voiced by Gooseworks herself. And in case if any of you wanted to know about the Glorp Queen from the episode, if you've seen it, well, she was actually voiced by Elise Lovelock. In case if you're wondering, yes, she too has done lots of animation and voice acting. He just didn't really talk much about it because the Glorp Queen isn't exactly a main character, or a recurring one for that matter. Anyway, that about does it for this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, we sometimes do requests, so if you wish to know anything in particular, be sure to leave it in the comments.